Welcome to the Genuine Learning Blog. I'm Frank Galasso, Director of Operations here at Galasso Learning Solutions. Today, I'm here to talk to you about an important update that impacts every CPA, NASBA's proposed revisions to the CPE standards. If you take CPE, design CPE, or manage CPE, these changes will affect you. My goal today is to give you some highlights, not every detail, but just the pieces that matter so that you can stay ahead of the curve. This proposal was released on September 17th. While it's just an exposure draft, the possible changes signal the direction CPE is headed over the next few years. As you know, these standards are jointly issued by NASBA and the AICPA, and they guide how CPA programs are designed, delivered, measured, and documented. Every 2 years, a work group comprised of state boards, societies, educators, and CPE providers review the standards. And they ask, do these standards still work in today's practice? In this particular cycle, the work group is acknowledging learning is changing, especially with AI and new adaptive technologies being rolled out every day. For some, these proposed changes will not be radical enough, but the iteration process is intentionally slow and thoughtful. So overall, I think this is a great step. One of the biggest proposed changes is how the standards are organized. Instead of a long list of enumerated rules, the new model centers everything around these 7 principles. These principles are intended to bring clarity on what are we trying to accomplish here, what does quality CPE look like, and how do we measure and document a CPE credit. Personally, I'm a big fan of the new organization. Previously, I did a lot of hunting around the document looking for specific requirements. Now I think it's laid out in a much more straightforward pattern. There's also some other cleanup happening. So Article 2 is being removed. That part of the document was never really authoritative, and it was just intended to give general guidance. Unfortunately, it ended up causing more confusion. References to independent study and university credit are also removed, and that's simply because each state handles this so differently. Some of what's added is very helpful. We mentioned the more streamlined structure. There's also updated definitions, better guidance to define each of the programs, and clearer requirements around tracking attendance and engagement. So this is a big one. The proposal defines CPE into 3 major categories: group, self-study, and blended. Group programs now formally include both in-person and virtual formats. And then self-study is also expanded to include adaptive learning and nano learning under one umbrella. The blended learning stays mostly unchanged. This should make the standards a little more flexible and really better aligned with how CPAs are actually taking their training today. This one could also be one of the more significant changes in the proposal. The proposal proposes to expand engagement requirements to all programs, not just Group Live. That means that self-study must demonstrate meaningful learner interactions. Now, review questions with feedback are considered engagement elements, but so are simulations, role play, hands-on activities, and other active demonstrations that allow you to show your skills within an on-demand environment. Additionally, moving away from the overly prescriptive feedback rules. Instead of requiring detailed feedback for every right and wrong answer, providers can offer more of a principle-based feedback that reinforces understanding, highlights knowledge gaps, and really supports learners' comprehension. I don't think this is going to be a ground-shaking change, but it certainly provides some real common sense flexibility when providers are writing these review questions. For CPAs, I hope these changes mean that your self-study programs may start to feel a bit more interactive in the future. And for CPE providers like Galasso Learning Solutions, this flexibility is going to be very helpful. Another important update, credit increments are changing. Group programs can now start at a half credit instead of a full credit, giving more of a modular flexibility. Self-study becomes even more flexible. Programs can begin at 1/5 or 1/2 credit, and then additional credits can be earned in those same increments. This aligns better with macro learning and helps eliminate the need for a separate nano learning category, since those short nano programs can simply fall under the existing self-study rules. That's something we at Golasso Learning Solutions are happy about. But here's a caveat. State boards still control final credit increments, so in some states you may see this flexibility sooner than in others. Okay, the good news for CPAs, nothing you've taken will be invalidated. So any program that complies with the current 2024 standards will still qualify under the proposal. Now, there's no effective date yet. These proposed changes would have to complete the feedback process, be reviewed by committee, then by the board of directors, and after that, state boards will need some time. So the message here is understand the direction we're moving, start preparing, but don't panic. We do have time. If you do want to be proactive and stay ahead of the changes, here are some things you can think about. So certainly read the exposure draft and submit any feedback you have by December 17th. The other thing I would recommend is evaluate one or two of your upcoming CPE programs. Look at delivery, engagement, verification, and measurement, and then maybe ask yourself, what can I do with this added flexibility that would be provided by this proposal? Finally, talk to your LMS provider or CPE vendors. Make sure they too are ready for any changes. All right, and that's a wrap for this week's Genuine Learning blog. I hope you found this insightful. If you have any specific CPE needs, either for yourself or for your firm, reach out to us. We're here to help you get the most out of your training investment. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.